All right, hello everyone. This is Josh, also known as Yashu. You're just tuning into another episode of the TLOY Talks podcast. Happy holidays to everyone that's like celebrating throughout this time, whether it's like Hanukkah, Christmas, Christmas Eve, Kwanzaa, whatever. Merry Christmas to all the Christians out there and everyone like celebrating Christmas as well too. Like you'll definitely get this on all platforms: Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Buzzsprout, much more. I got to be festive with this, like with the hat and all that too, and like even like tapping with the Patreon as well too. We're gonna get this like festive season going and all that, So we actually have like one of the rising artists like in the Toronto music scene and all that too. He just released one of his songs like Crash Out that's been making like a lot of waves like on all platforms. It's been co-signed by We Love Hip Hop, Toronto Top 6, and has like other songs like JoJo, Bounce and Batch Bowls 2.0, Told My Mom, Over, Free, Two Friends, Cottage Twins Freestyles, and much more. We have Antonio Delavada like in the building. How are you doing today, man?
I'm good. I'm good. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, man. Like when we like reached out too, like I think when you first reached out to me too, I was like tapping in with the sound too, and like seeing like the cosigns like go like a long way too. It's like kind of like amazing to see and all that too, and like I definitely had to like check in with the sound and all that too with Crash Out. Like I love that it had like the GTA like Vice City like cover art and all that too. Like it kind of had that unique blend of like just the scenery and everything like that too, and like all the other stuff like with JoJo, Bouncing Batch
Yeah,
Bros
yeah.
2.0, Told My Mom, Two Friends, Cottage Twins freestyles. Like I love the sound, the lyricism, everything like that too. It's amazing to hear and all that.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. Like that's definitely what I was with these first like which what you've mentioned. Like I kind of just wanted to come out and I didn't want to give people like a sound, you know what I mean? Like, you could you hear like an R&B sound with me on Told My Mom. You hear on the song with JoJo, you hear that it's like a little bit more trap, you know what I mean? Like with Crash Out, there's more of like more boom bap spitting. So I wanted to come out of the gate and I just wanted to give everybody like I can do anything.
Yeah,
You know what I
that's
mean? Like it doesn't
facts.
matter what genre it is. Like I can hold my own. So
Yeah,
no,
no,
I
that's
appreciate the kind words, man.
yeah, that's facts, man. Like we did the post on the like on the page and all that too. Like definitely had like some good traction, and I want to dive deep more onto like what you have going on. So like, where did you grow up, and what was like the environment like for you growing up?
Yeah, for sure. Growing up, like music was just a huge thing in my household, right? Like there was music everywhere. My dad was a producer, and it was just like early Toronto days was just like in the studio, in the basement, you know what I mean? Like in Scarborough, just like banging out beats on to find any artist to work with. And then like I had my mom on the other hand, who was like who was a teacher who really pushed like books on me and like getting me to read and expanding my vocabulary. So like what you end up hearing in like some of the songs, like there's like I try to use like, like literary devices and I try to use metaphors and I try to use different things. And that definitely comes from like my mom forcing books on me, like that I had no business reading. You know what I mean? I was like grade 3, my mom's making me read like Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. That was written in 1813. You know what I mean? Like there was just like a whole bunch of like education. And then also on the other side, like my dad just being like, like this is Tupac, or, like this is Biggie, or this is 50's new thing that he just dropped. Like all the time there was always music. My dad had music blasting. And any Spanish person knows, like if you wake up and you hear Spanish music playing around your house, like it's time to clean. So even cleaning time, there was music just playing. So growing up, that's what it was like, just like music playing all the time. Everyone in my family loving music, all types of music. And like growing up in Scarborough too, or Toronto, like it's so multicultural. Like you go to your friend's house and there's gonna be African songs being played. You go to your other friend's house, there's Spanish songs. You go to your other friends, you know what I mean? Like we're so multicultural. So like growing up, there was just music everywhere around me. You know what I mean? So that's like music has just been a big part of my early life and everything. So
Okay, that's facts, man. And like your dad being a producer, like did he ever work with like like big artists like in the game like growing up and all that, or was he more like honed into like working with his like friends, family, all that sort of stuff?
I think I think he was more like reggae. So he was more on like the reggae production side. I know he has like a couple of cool stories of like being in the studio and like early, no beard Drake walking into the studio and, like still on the Degrassi days and, like other producers working with him and him just kind of getting to sit back and, like soak in what it was like working or just kind of see what it's like working with someone at that magnitude, even though like he wasn't big back then. He was the biggest thing we had back then at the same time. So,
Okay.
um, yeah, sorry. I'm gonna give you free pre-warning. I tend to go on tangents, so you're gonna have to remind me what the questions are sometimes
Yeah,
because
no worries.
I'm
Yeah,
just
no
gonna go
worries.
off
Yeah, no
and
worries.
we're gonna have a great
Yeah,
conversation.
no, that's facts, man. And like even like Scarborough, like growing up too, like it had like a lot of like OGs, like Maestro with Daniel, with
For sure.
Claire, and like even like a lot of like other like people like in the game, like Freem French, like Bugs, like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Hangs, like everyone else too. So even like in Scarborough, like just like the specific area growing up, was it big for music at the time growing up?
Yeah, there was like when I was growing up in high school, like I had friends who were friends with Killy and like my producer who I worked with in high school, like just kind of starting out and trying to find out where I want to how I wanted to sound. Like he was working with Velo and so like all these Scarborough people, there was like Huncho too, like Hoodlum. So there was just a whole bunch of people around that were, making waves and like, Hoodlum, like he's been in the game, like, he's an OG, you know what I mean? Like so coming up in the rap scene in Scarborough, like there's no way you don't hear about him. You know what I mean? And like, just look at these guys and be like and try to almost look up to them and be like, you come from where I'm at, you know what I mean? And you found a way to make music your thing and be successful in it, you know what I mean? As far and took it as far as they wanted to go with it. So growing up in Scarborough, like all these people, those were like the people that were just like directly near me, you know what I mean? Like so yeah, of course, like growing up and listening to like Scarborough rappers, it kind of gave you the sense of like, oh, like I can do this. You know what I mean? Like he's able to do this, and like he's now either in the States or working with other big name people in Toronto. So like growing up in Toronto, seeing that, it just kind of gave you that sense of like, oh, we are good. Scarborough has a sound. Scarborough has something to offer to like the rest of the world. And like I see it through these guys. So yeah, 100%. Like that was 100% inspiration just seeing it. Even though like I don't typically do more drill stuff, like like that's not something I've really dabbled in. It's definitely been something like still watching their moves and like appreciating like how consistent they were with the way that they did. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah, that's
still
facts.
dropping, right?
Yeah, no, 100%. I know with Honcho Hoodlum, like I know he has like paved a way for like even like the Toronto sound and all that too. And I could definitely say, if you listen to like My City Crazy, like I felt like it should have had like more of the respect that it had like way back then and all that too. Like even like for now and all that, because just like the lyricism and just like the storytelling that he brings on how Toronto was like back then versus like now, that
For
like,
sure.
that's, like, an astonishing, like, song to, like, listen to. Like, I could even, like, compare it to, like, Griselda Blanco, to,
Mm, mm,
Canada Goose, to, like, friggin', Hall of Fame by Top 5 and all that
mm,
too. Like, I'd still, like, hold it in that high regard than, like, any other song too. Like, I think because of just, like, the gritty boom bap, like,
for
the
sure.
crazy dark elements to it, like, it's, like, crazy and all that, no?
Yeah, yeah, and like the elements that I hear from him and what he portrays really, really well, and like I would love to make a track with him. Like like I have like such great appreciation for these guys who came before me. But yeah, like I like even when I have like family in Galloway and we go to like when we have like our family gatherings and we're all like it's all love, but it's in a place that is like it's not all love there all the time. You know what I mean? It's not always the prettiest, when you're in like not the greatest of areas of Scarborough. So he definitely captures that like, like we're about this area, but it's also it can get, it can get
Yeah,
hot
yeah,
here.
no,
You know
that's
what I mean?
facts,
And like that's what like when I'm driving down around Scarborough and I'm in the places that, like you wouldn't find just like any regular person and like I see elements of like like what he's rapping in just captures it perfectly. I'm like what I'm hearing from him is exactly what I felt when I was like around those things, you know what I mean? When I was seeing those things growing up too, like it was like that was
Yeah,
he captured that, you know what I mean?
yeah,
Like
that's
painted a
facts.
very vivid image.
Yeah, that's facts, man. And I know that you talked about like your mother like being a teacher, like growing up and like even like being into reading. But what were you like from the start until like now and all that too? Like, have you had like any like interests like like even aside from music and all that?
I always knew I wanted to be an artist. Like it didn't start from me rapping, it didn't start from me making music. It started from me like actually writing. Like I when I was in elementary school, I wanted to be an author and I would sit and just write books and books and books. And then I started finding like poets that I thought were really, really cool. So I started trying to take from them and then all of a sudden, like I'm finding different ways to like bend words to make them rhyme. And then my friends are like, yo, just put a beat behind this. You know what I mean? So that's how I ended up getting into rap, was actually like through reading. Like I've always been such a huge reader growing up. Um, and just wanted to I just, like loved reading, and I just wanted to recreate that. So yeah, it's kind of hot in
Yeah, no worries.
here. Yeah, so I wanted to be an author at first, and then after I decided that like I was gonna do music, it was like a little bit of a back and forth between like, did I want to do music or did I want to be an athlete? And then ultimately I just ended up deciding like the things that I had to say, the things that I had to offer as an artist, like eh, they it can't be shelved, and it shouldn't be shelved. You know what I mean? And I definitely think it's something that it was worth taking seriously. And I'm just like at the beginning of it, I'm still in my first year of technically being an artist. So
Okay.
yeah, yeah.
And like I know that you talked about like getting into like rapping from like high school and all that too with friends, like being producers, friends like being artists too. So maybe like let's like dive deep onto that, like how like that high school story came about, like just like you getting into like rapping from there.
Yeah. It was it was funny because I didn't end up going to school with like my childhood friends. We'd only end up seeing each other during the summer when there was no school and there was more time to see each other. And it was actually kind of coincidental. Like I think it was like I was in like my like excuse me, in my 10th grade. And I kind of just made that decision like with my friends who weren't artists, who were just telling me like, just yo, what you're saying is really, really nice, and like just put a beat behind it. And then I ended up meeting my friends in the summer being like, yo, I think I want to take music seriously. And they were like, me too. Um so at that point I was like, oh, like I got the green light from almost everybody. So I was like, oh, it's go mode. Like let's go, let's take it. And then, like COVID happened. COVID, paused the whole entire world, and, everybody was kind of just waiting around for a bit. And that was like the perfect moment for me to kind of be like, oh, let me just take a second to like hone in the stuff. You know what I mean? Like now I have time where the world is paused, and when does that never happens in human history? When has the world just stopped and nothing's happened and allowed people to kind of like change whatever they needed to change or get at whatever you need to get at. And by the time everything opened up, it doesn't feel like there was like 4 years that passed. So it gave me the perfect opportunity to be like, you know what, I'm gonna try and just like make make as much as I can. And like it's been a very fruitful endeavor. Like I have crazy amounts of music now and everything. So yeah, no, like working with them, and once they gave me the green light, we just started working. And um I feel proud, like, just to say, like, out of all my friends and everybody, I'm the only one that stuck to it. Like, I'm the only one that said, like, I'm gonna do music, and kept at it. Yeah, and this is no shade to anybody or anything. Like, you can live your own life and do what you want. But yeah, so I'm still going, and I'm still going strong. I consider all that my development time. Like when I was in my high school time and before that, I still consider myself still in development right now. So
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. Because I think with COVID, like it kind of like fucked up the momentum for like a lot of people, like just like mainstream and like indie wise too. Because I think Houdini would have still been like alive if the pandemic didn't happen. I think Tory would have still been like free, like no issues,
yeah,
if he wasn't caught up with the pandemic and all that too. Like the pandemic didn't happen because like a lot of things like kind of change over time too. Like even King Von too, like he would have still been like alive and all that too. But shit happens and we just live like another day and all that.
yeah, COVID changed everything. Like I I I've never I just like even when I'm walking around, like the way that like social interactions are, like there are like restaurants that are only walk through now, and there's no seating area, and they've never changed that back. Like yeah, I still feel like we're still recovering from the effects of COVID, even
Yeah,
though like no one's really sick anymore, but like still finding out like how does society work again? Like how why did it feel like there was so much more energy back then? Now there feels like it's kind of like died out. So yeah, I feel like COVID just I agree with you. Like COVID changed everything, and I
yeah,
think it took a toll on the city for sure.
yeah. Like even as you said, like with whole like walkthrough situations, because like I think because like when they notice like the effects of like COVID happening, like with homelessness, with the encampments, all that sort of stuff to the mental health, like they kind of had to make restrictions on
Yeah.
who can go into the restaurant, who can't go into the restaurant too. Like they removed like the tables like at like certain restaurants too, like at Starbucks or Tim Hortons. You just have to grab it and like go and all that too.
Mm,
So like that kind of like changed the momentum on like how like people can like relax, like do that type of stuff and all that.
not
So
for sure.
Yeah.
for sure.
And I want to ask, like, what inspired you to like even like rap and like become like an artist and like even like take it seriously and all that?
Um, it's a great question. What made me take this like really, really serious and like what inspired me was like the a huge inspiration of mine was Eminem growing up. Like even though he started from before I was born. Just the way like I never knew how to go from like writing like really, really, adding literary devices to like the things that I write and then taking that and turning it into a rap, right? Cause like what I grew up on, and not to say that those guys are not poetic in their own way, I just like couldn't figure out how to do it like that. Like the 50s and like, Jay, like they find a way to paint such a nice picture of the things that they're writing about, and the things that they're writing about sometimes are not the greatest. Um and if you don't listen to it, actually sit down and listen to it, you could take it as it being glorified. And I had no idea how to walk that fine line of like not glorifying the things that I went through and that I'm currently going through, and then also still talking about it. And then I found Eminem through my dad. He showed me and it was like the Marshall Mathers LP. And when I was sitting down listening to it, I was like, oh, like he found a perfect way of mixing like such literary devices and such like nice cadences and everything. So when I heard that, I was like, oh, I want to do that. I want to do that and keep doing that, and and find a way to do that, and make people feel me. You know what I mean? Like feel the things that I'm saying, because I feel like I had so much to say. I still feel like I still have so much to say. So it was like once I figured out, and once I had like when I was like, I don't know, 10, and had the inspiration to like, oh, it is possible to write in a way that you're comfortable writing and also make it rap. You know what I mean? Or whatever it is, whatever kind of music you want to do it. So that was a huge inspiration, is like stumbling on someone who I related to in terms of like writing style and everything. And then, like my dad too, like he's always been um a huge inspiration in like in the way that he was a producer, and like the ways that he didn't end up, taking his career the way that he wanted to. And knowing that we have musicality in my family, it was like a huge inspiration to know that like like, and this is no disrespect to anybody, but like it was a huge inspiration to know like I don't want to be like that. You know what I mean? I don't want to halfway do something and then not see it through, and take myself too real and be like, like what if it doesn't happen, or you know what I mean? It was like, what if it does? So seeing like my dad have such huge love for the music and the game, and then also not embracing that love, it was like it was inspiring to see that love for the game, and then also inspiring to be like, you didn't take it seriously, so now I'm gonna do it. You know what I mean? Like I love the game as much as you do, and I'm gonna join that, and I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna kill it. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, that's facts, man. And like aside from like Eminem and like 50 as well too, do you have any other like musical like influences like when it comes to your sound? And do you have any like artists that you want to like work with like someday musically?
oh man, artists I want to work with someday. Um, yeah, I like. Of course, like being from Toronto, you want to work with the boy. You know what I mean? You want to work with Drake, right? You want to in any way you can. So that's obviously one idea. I'd love to work with him. I think we'd make some fucking killer tracks. Um, ah, trying to think. I feel like I always have this in my head, and now I'm being asked, and like it's just I'm blanking out. Um, yeah, I don't even know if I would want to make music with M or 50 right now. I feel like maybe if we were back in like the 2005, I'd want to make the music with them right now. I just feel like 50 is such at a different spot, and M
Yeah,
is gonna outspit the shit
yeah.
out of me. So I'm not even gonna try to touch that right now.
Nah, for sure.
Who would I want to make music with though?
I'd see you do some stuff like like West Side Boogie and all that, who's like signed to like Eminem's label. Like I think
Yeah,
like that would be like a good feel. Like when I like
Jid.
listen to like yeah
Yeah,
JID.
if I would hop on a track with Jid
Yeah,
too.
Smino like is like
Yeah,
also like
yeah,
a good
yeah.
comparison. I'd say because I see like some of the boom bap type stuff too. I definitely see you work with like a lot of people like from like Griselda, like Beneath the Butcher,
For
Conway,
sure.
West Side Gun,
That would be sick.
Earl Sweatshirt too. Like Earl's like pretty sick. I see you do some stuff with like like artists like Raz Fresco, like the Six Light
Mm,
Letter and all that too. Like I see like that sound like kind of like interlining too. Like even my homie Ghostboy RJ and all that too. Like I think you and him would like be like on a dope track together and all that too. Like I think like your sounds like would intermingle
yeah.
well and all that. There's like this like other guy by like the name of like Realize who does like the whole like like street freestyle
Mm.
type rap. Like I think you and him would also like be like a good vibe like in that sense too. So
No, I think yeah, I'd love to hop in a track with all of them. Like I'm an artist. I never stop writing. I got music for days. I have like 3 hard drives, just full. Like I have projects and projects. I'd love to make music with all of them. So I completely agree with you. That would be so much fun. Like making a song with like West Side and all of them. Like that'd be crazy. Like
yeah.
I know like if we were to hop on a track together, that would flip the city. I promise you.
Yeah, oh, that's facts, man, too. And I mean, even for first time listeners too, because like they tend to like listen to like a lot of stuff from like new artists like here and there. So how would you describe your music to them and like what can they expect? Like I know that you talked about that you're versatile with like many different sounds and all that too, but what else do you also bring?
Yeah. I guess for more context, like the stuff that I've dropped right now is more just to like lay the groundwork of like the stuff like I'm working on a project right now and you know it's gonna be like a 4 to 6 song project and it's just I'm sitting down and I'm locked in with this in the studio right now with the producer and the songs over the summer and like into the fall have been like leading up to this right now and it's like I completely understand like establishing your sound and wanting to get your sound out there, but I really like that element of surprise. So I really wanted to just start out the gate and do a bunch of songs that like you won't hear going forward. You know what I mean? Like now you're getting me. When this project comes out, you're getting me and that's all you're getting. I just wanted to have fun at first, like try a whole bunch of different beats, see what I can do with them and like everyone around me was being like, "Yo, like just just drop everything. Just start dropping." And I was like, "Maybe we'll see, we'll see." And I was like, so like all the songs that we listed in the past, like those were all like I guess like little experiments, but at the same time, like wanted to get that itch of all those songs out. Like because like from now on, it's like you're getting me, and you're getting something that I don't think anyone's heard from the city. I don't think anyone's making music like this. Um, I'm not even gonna say that it's better. I know it's different. I know what I have to offer. So I don't want to give away too much because I really, really want people to like tune in and listen and I don't want to spoil it too much. But like this next project is gonna be different and it's gonna be really, really good. And I'm like, like there's really, really, really high name people that I'm like talking to and sending them stuff and getting their opinions on. And I'm really curating this to continue with that like that dark sound that Toronto has, but at the same time taking it in and giving it my own element. So if I guess that's what you can expect is like just like more me. It's gonna be that dark sound, and it's just gonna be that dark sound, but just Antonio's dark sound. You know what I
Okay,
mean?
that's facts, man. And do you have any like short term and like long term goals like for your career and all that too? Like I know like for like the short term, it's just like releasing the project and like getting like these like songs out too. But do you have like anything like else in mind like to add in?
Oh yeah, yeah. Like I, everything is calculated. I know what I'm doing next year. I know what I'm doing in 2 years from now. You know what I mean? Like there's that blueprint has already been laid out. It's been done, and it's just now about execution, right? Like me and my team, we sat down and for months curated and crafted out a blueprint. So yeah, like like the first quarter of the next year is going to be completely, like super engulfed with the project. Not to like shamelessly plug myself, but the project is called In Lieu of Flowers, Send Love. So yeah, it's that's what that first quarter is gonna be, and then the second quarter, I'm working with a completely separate artist, and she's just killer. Like, uh, her level of musicality and the way that she's able to sing, and she's a workhorse, and I'm just so blessed to be in that like creative space, and you know what I mean? And then after I have another project dropping in the later part of the year. So yeah, like I have next year planned out. I have the next 2 years planned out. I have the next 3 years planned out. Like, yeah, everything is gonna be calculated. So um to what to expect is just a whole bunch of just top notch projects next year. You know what I mean? Like next year is gonna be videos, there's gonna be lyric videos, there's gonna be everything, you know what I mean? So
Okay.
that's what
Yeah. Oh, that's
that's what I
facts, man.
got planned.
Yeah, no, that's facts. And like I know that you talked about like having like a team and all that too. And I know of like a lot of like artists too, like especially in Toronto, either they do it like completely dolo, like no manager, like no producer, no engineer, like they'll probably like reach out here and there too. Or like, they have like a full on team, like a manager, social media, like content creator, a
Mm.
photographer, videographer, two producers, like two engineers and all that too. So like is having a team very important in like getting like the groundwork done and like just like releasing music and then just like only focusing on like the soul thing too? Or do you think like artists like can make it like on their own, like just like Dolo and all that?
Honestly, I think it's either way. I think how my team ended up happening was just out of necessity. I didn't necessarily start out going looking for a team. It was just you end up along the way meeting people, you know what I mean, who you can see the potential that they can add to your career, and you find ways to work with them and continue working with them, and then all of a sudden they're part of your brand, they're part of your team. And so I'm blessed and I feel lucky that like all my team just like we just happened organically. Like nothing was forced, nothing was like I didn't go out and look for a manager, and that was it, you know what I mean? Like it was like my producer, I met through another artist working with them, and they offered me a whole bunch of things that were just great, like they offered me their studio, they offered me their time, their expertise, and willing to craft out a project with me, and we're you know what I mean? So that just happened organically. And then all the artists I've been working with, and like like the artist I'm maybe working with in the next year, her name is Kat, by the way. Um, she just like that was organic too. We just like found each other, and it was like your music is dope. And like even though like she's more of like a pop indie kind of lane, like she's more like Taylor Swift. It was like I don't listen to your stuff, but yo, like your shit slaps. Like, and from there it was like, what would it be like if we made a song together? So that just happened organically too. And then like with JoJo, the same thing. It was like, I think your shit slaps. I think your shit slaps. Let's hop on a song together. Let's break some bread. Let's like so that happened organically too. So I feel blessed that like for me it happened organically. I 100% think like if you have the capabilities to that, any artist can do all these things on their own. You know what I mean? Like if you I don't want to sound like, you need a producer or you need an other artists to work with, cuz you absolutely don't. You can sit down, pull out your FL Studios or Logic and learn all that stuff by yourself, and by YouTube videos, and record yourself. And outside of it happen organically, I love working with people. Like I feel like part of art is bringing people together and sharing that art amongst each other and connecting through that art. So I can edit my stuff, but it's like I would much rather sit down with the producer and be like, "Yo, what do you hear?" You know what I mean? Like tell me what's going on in your head when I play the sound. What do you hear? And I want to learn all these things, and I just want to be a sponge. Because I think everyone is, in terms of an artist, engineers, producers, videographers, podcasters. I think there's so much to just learn from all these different creatives. So for me, it's just like it's out of like a want to just learn and meet new creatives, and just soak in what they have to offer. But at the same time, if that's not you, like 100%, you can get to Drake's level. You know what I mean? Like you have Tyler the Creator too, right? Like Tyler the Creator, he does it all himself. You have Kanye, he produces himself. He does all that stuff by himself. Like he's the creative director behind all that. Tyler's the creative director behind all that. So it's definitely possible, and the proof is in the pudding. So
Oh, that's facts. Like when I went to my first like networking event, just like of this year, like I think this happens to be like just like a week or two ago. Like it kind of changed my perspective on how like it is important to connect with people, to like have a team, how to like lead in with the groundwork too and all
mm,
that. Because like a lot of people like either came on their own or they came with like family or like other team members too, and like they do have like that vision and that goal of like trying to reconnect, like building a base and all that too, like
mhm.
showing us support and all that too. And like I want to shout out like Toronto Rap Stars for a bit as well too, for even like
Yeah,
creating
yeah.
like this like event as well too. I Because like you never know who you're gonna be. Like one day, like you're gonna be the next person that's gonna be your manager or your photographer, or you might be their manager or photographer or A&R and all that too. And like it's
100%.
like all like that groundwork too. Like I know for me, like for one example, like I actually started to take having a team more seriously and all that. And like I have a writer on my team who's like doing like some of the write ups for some like the articles and all that too. And like I have like other
Mm,
people that are doing like the audio, video work sometimes and all that too, or sometimes too, it could be just like minor stuff, like whether it's just like doing like touch ups, like for a photo shoot, or
mhm.
just like doing some stuff here and there, like like editing questions, all that sort of stuff too, because it like kind of like helps throughout the way and all that. So
No, yeah, for sure. Like working with other people is just it's great, you know what I mean? And I always encourage people to just like meet other people and other creatives, and not even in the sense of like in a cuz rap can be so competitive,
yeah,
but like just being able to sit down with like another rapper and be like and just pull from their brain, I think that's just so beneficial. And I think that's like the one thing that I see that doesn't happen as much in Toronto in terms of other places. Like you don't have that camaraderie where it's like, we're not feeding each other the the um the little secrets that we learn and the little tips that we learn because like, you're from Toronto, I'm from Toronto. I want to see you come up too. Let's put Toronto on the, it's on the map, but let's make it a bigger, you know what I mean? Let's
yeah,
make the
exactly.
land
Yeah, no,
bigger.
it's facts,
Let's
man. Yeah,
so I feel like just like being able to just like not just putting down your ego and putting down your pride and being like, yo, I fuck with your music, man. Yo, how did you come up with that hook?
yeah,
You know what I mean?
exactly.
Like,
Yeah,
yo, like what was going through your head when you wrote that verse? Like
yeah,
you said
exactly.
some
Yeah,
crazy shit, dog.
yeah, no, that's facts, man. Yeah,
And we don't I feel like we don't share that. Everything is so gatekeep and like
yeah,
I found it, so I'm not trying to show you anything right now. And
yeah,
it's
true.
like I'm not like that, you know what I mean? Like if you know me and this is what I will always be like this. If I'm up, the people who are around me and the people who showed me, you guys are y'all are coming up too. You know what I mean? So it's never going to be like and even if I don't know you, if there's another artist, I know what it's like being an artist. Like I'm going to like let's do this shit
Yeah,
together.
yeah,
Let's figure this shit out together. I'm gonna give you what I think is gonna be beneficial for you. So
yeah, no,
I
that's
think that's the
facts.
one thing that we're lacking as a city in Toronto is in terms of like in the rap scene is like we don't we don't share those little tips and tricks and try to put each other on in different ways.
Yeah.
It's like if I don't know you, I don't know you, and I think you're whack even if I don't. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, no, I know what you mean, man, and we'll dive deep like onto that like later on as well too. But I want to
mm.
get more into your like creative process, like when making music too. So like I know that you said like within the music that you make, it's like experimentations in that sense too. So are there like any other creative processes like when making music, and like what would like a day in like like making music be like for you, like, or like a day in the studio?
It's a great question. My where would I start? My pro I don't everything you hear it's happened. You know what I mean? I I can't write from a place of fiction. Everything I need to write from, it just needs to happen to me. It just comes from a wanting to write. That's where everything starts for me is like I sit down and like I have my notepad and my pen, and if I don't have that, I have my notes on my phone. I sit down and I just write. I'm right like people think I'm texting 90% of the time. I'm writing. I don't talk to nobody. If we're not doing music together, if we're not in the business together, I'm not talking to you. So if I'm on my phone typing, it's writing, and that's how it always starts. I start writing, and then um from there it might not even like rhyme sometimes. It's just like it's just a monologue I'll just write down sometimes, and from there if I see elements of it that could be turned into a verse, I just I take it, I fine tune it, I take the idea and I turn it into a verse. Yeah, the day in the I don't get in the studio yet, you know, like I don't unless my stuff is ready, unless I'm confident on the stuff that I'm about to lay down and I'm already sick of the verse because I practiced it so many times, that's when I'm gonna get in the studio and I'm gonna lay it down. Cause I treat going into the studio the same way I treat going on stage to perform. You know what I mean? I wanna know exactly what movement's gonna happen, where I'm gonna be standing, how my voice is gonna sound. So my creative process, like I write and then I'll be either in my room or even in the studio, but not in the mic. I'll just be practicing the verse and trying different ways of my voice and doing it all the way up here and sounding like I'm from fucking Alvin and the Chipmunks, and then all the way down here and I sound like I'm Biggie Smalls and everything in between. And then once I figure out like which one I think sounds better, and then I get in the studio and you hear that like in Two Friends, like I'm way down here. I'm nearly a baritone and it's like I never rap that low. Um and then in Crash Out, it's much more clear and much more there's more space in the way that I'm using my voice and it's not all the way down here, you know? So that's my creative process. And then once I figure that out, I go in the studio and then I'm laying it out. I'm doing hundreds and hundreds of takes and just trying to get every word out properly. And so yeah, that's what a day in the creative process in me. But honestly, it doesn't even happen in a day. Sometimes I have a song and then or I'll have my producer send me a beat and I'll just sit with it for like months sometimes until I figure out what I want to do with it. You know what I mean? Until I figure out, all right, this is how it should sound, or this is what the rhythm should be, or um, this is what the counter melody should be, or trying to figure out all these different things, which you're gonna definitely hear much more of on the upcoming project.
Okay.
But yeah, that's I guess just to answer your question. That's like what my creative process would be. You
Okay,
know?
that's facts. And like I know like in the studio, like a lot of people have like studio rules on how they want like the studio to kind of be like and all that too. Like some people they don't want like too many like people in the room, just like the producer and like
Mm,
engineer, or like no like video recordings like in the studio and all that too, or like like only smoke weed, like all that type of stuff and all that too.
mm.
So I don't know if you have like some studio etiquettes like when you're like in the studio and all that too.
Um, yeah, I definitely do. There's definitely been some very awkward studio sessions where I've had to just be like, nah, cut that shit out. And then it's not so much rules, it's just that like
It's like the vibes and all that.
yeah, and people who are not artists and like when I work with other friends who bring their friends, they think when you go into the studio, you're gonna watch it happen every time. And sometimes it just doesn't. Sometimes you get in the studio and nothing happens. Sometimes you get in the studio and me and my boys are just sitting down and we're game planning. You know what I mean? Like, and if you if that's boring and you're getting understimulated, so you're finding ways to entertain yourself, and it's getting in the way of the process, like like the door's over there. Like once for me, I the studio is like you clock in. That's work. You get there, you know what I mean? Like I'm expecting you to sit down and work every minute that we're in that studio. Um, Especially because it's my equipment too and my time and if it's not my project, I take my time just as seriously when I'm working on your project. So I just I need you to come and I need you to be ready. I need you to we need to get to work and that's it. And if I'm downloading a file or something or I'm exporting your file or something or a file and we have 15 minutes left, like I'm expecting someone to be like, "Yo, let me get a quick verse in." Like that's all I'm expecting. If I'm in the studio and you're taking your time, like even if you're smoking, I don't care. I don't care about any of that, but if you're gonna come, have your joints rolled. I'm not gonna sit here and watch you roll your joints when I'm trying to get my shit off right now. You know what I mean? So that's it. Is like I'm usually so chill and this is making me sound like an asshole. But once it comes time for work, like it's time for work. You know what I mean? Because that's what's gonna separate us from like and no disrespect, but the people who do take this as a joke or take this as like for fun or music is not their thing. They did it with their friends in the studio. Like if you want to do that, that's fine, but that's not what I do over here. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I'm creating art. You know what
yeah,
I
no,
mean?
that's
I have
facts.
so.
Yeah, because I know, like, in some situations too, like, even, like, for mainstream artists too, like, a lot of the reasons, like, why they're making music is, like, kinda like a come up, like, with the whole, like, Young Miami situation of, I'm not even interested in rap, I'm just, like, doing that because of my friend and all that, or, like, the Cardi B's and, like, Bluefaces that only, like, wanna rap to make, like, money
Mm,
and all that and, like, make it, like, a lick and all that. Do you feel like it's, like, kinda like, disrespect, like, in that sense too?
um, I don't think it's I don't think it's a disrespect when they want to do it just for money. If if they care about what they're doing, you know what I mean? If if you're doing it for the money and then you're not taking the craft seriously, then like that's when it becomes like a slap in the face. Who I think everyone does. Like, um, if you treat the rap game as like an easy way to get into like the music scene, so all of you know what I mean. So you used rap and you use the fan base and you use our culture to, get your status, and then all of a sudden now you're doing fucking jazz or something just because that's actually what you wanted to do, but you knew you couldn't get the fame. That's a
Mm,
disrespect because it's like you're taking what people from the past, like all the way back to the Easy E days and the groundwork that they laid, and you're using that to put yourself somewhere that you know what you weren't gonna bring that with you, you know? So that to me feels like a little bit of a disrespect because it's like you used it. You used the platform that was built from people from before that I appreciate, and it wasn't because like, like the Kendricks or like like the people the Drakes and the J. Coles and the people who actually do love the game, they they stayed in it. And even when Drake is swaying from it and going to Afro beats or going to Jamaica like to reggae and or singing in Spanish and everything like that, like you he's still gonna spit. He's still gonna give you the rap that he's always given you, you know what I mean? So because that's where his roots are, like
yeah.
that's where he started out was a rapper and everything. So I think when you use rap to put yourself on a platform and then all of a sudden you're like, I'm not a rapper, or you never claimed it, or you're pretending like you never claimed it, then like I think that's whack. You know what I
Okay.
mean? Like
Yeah. I know what you mean, man. And I wanna, like, dive deep onto the crash out and all that too, like, because I know that you talked about it, like, briefly too, but was it inspired by, like, a crash out that might have happened, or was it, like, a totally, like, different experience?
um yeah, no, so when I wrote it, I was in the middle. I was really upset about something, and well, not about one thing in particular, but there was a lot of things that were just kind of reaching, boiling to the surface, and I was just like, "Yo, I'm gonna talk to this situation," and because in it, there's a lot of attitude I'm using, like there's um like the line like if you're referring to me, you better start with your majesty. It was like that lines like that were inspired by me not feeling like I was getting given the credit due. Um in and that I at that point by the time I reached Crash Out that like I was getting I was getting people looking at me, but I didn't necessarily feel like me doing "Told My Mom" is completely R&B, and I'm singing on that. You know what I mean? Like that hook is me singing, and it's not a sample. It's a completely original melody that me and my team we sat down and we created that melody. And then there's a background vocals on that have a counter melody, which could be its own separate hook if it wasn't in the background on top of the beat. And like in all my other songs, like there was that much level of trying to make the song as deep as possible, and I feel like I wasn't getting that. I feel like people weren't seeing that, so I was like, you know what, like I'm gonna write a song that's just it's not me crashing out, but it's letting people know like I'm getting fucking annoyed and I'm getting pissed off because and it's not that people are doing anything wrong, and it's you know what I mean? It's more that it's just like I'm so competitive within myself that it's like, if every song doesn't hit 1,000,000 streams, I'm going like, "Yeah? Alright, watch this one." And then that one, it's like it still does better, and if it's not 1,000,000 streams, like I put my bar so high, so when I wasn't when I didn't think I was getting when people weren't recognizing the expertise and the time and the what I was doing, I was like, all right, I'm gonna put all that to the side. There's no melodies. There's no layering of the production. We're not playing around with anything. I'm gonna go and I'm gonna spit. I'm just gonna say my mind. So that's what inspired it. I just like, you know, and by the way, all these songs I consider them freestyles because like all up well some of them. Um Most of the time I go in there and like I just spit and then and then that's it and I walk out, up until now. Whereas like the songs you're getting now are gonna be more fine tuned and told my mom was like it was a project, like figuring out the melodies and everything. But yeah, just to go back to your question, it was definitely like I was getting to the point where I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna give everybody attitude because I've been trying to give everybody so much sprinkles and sparkles and shit that I was like, you know what? Imma just spit. Imma get in the booth, Imma spit, I'm not gonna write anything, I'm just gonna whatever comes out, I'm just gonna that's what I'm gonna drop, and I'm gonna call it Crash Out, and that's
Okay.
what I did.
Okay, that's facts, man. And you know what's interesting is that your IG handle name is like very different from what you have for your stage name too. So,
Mm.
how did you get that IG handle name, and like, what's like the difference between that versus Antonio Delavada?
Yeah, when I first started out, I was gonna go by Rose Gold Rocky, and, that was all the way back in high school, and, like, in and a little bit after, and, yeah, that was when I was starting out to do music, it was very different, I was very much like, I used to skate, so it was very much like skater boy, like early Tyler vibes, Earl Sweatshirt vibes of like that skater rap, you know? And then I was getting into the point where I was like, I wanna give the people me. You know what I mean? Like in lieu of this the tape that's coming out. I've been working on that tape for the last 2 years. So when was gearing towards being like, I think this tape is getting to the point where I'm gonna release it. Like I've written hundreds of songs with that concept in mind, and I think I have the songs I want to drop. And Rose Gold Rocky just didn't feel like me. It felt like there was a persona, and I just want to give the people me now. You know what I mean? Like I'm not gonna come on stage and I'm not gonna pretend to be something I'm not. I'm not gonna come on no interview, pretend I'm not like, I didn't I'm not gonna I'm just gonna give y'all me. Like I have nothing to hide. I'm completely transparent. And that's where like, Antonio Delavada is just my first and middle name. And the best way to give people me was giving them my name, giving them my personal government name to refer me by because like you're gonna get Antonio. That's what you're gonna get now. You're not gonna get no skater boy. 2025, like it was more of like a rebrand of like, all right, if I'm gonna give people me, how am I gonna do that in the most comfortable way possible? So that's where I changed my name.
Okay, that's facts, man. And I mean, like social media, it is like a very like interesting thing too with IG, with Twitter, well now X, and TikTok
Mm.
and all that too. So, like, what are your thoughts on that nowadays?
Like, what are my thoughts on like?
Social media, you know?
That's a great question. It's I really I'm someone who I don't like social media. Like if I were to choose, I wouldn't be on social media. Um and this is not like I see the benefits of social media, like it's such a it connects you with it can connect you with great people. It can get your whatever you need out into the masses, whether you're a musician or a sneaker salesperson. Like I think it's such a beneficial place, but in the same sense, I think social media has changed a lot of society in a way that is I wouldn't necessarily think it's beneficial. Like for example, like just because that's most related to me, like in Toronto, um there's we don't there's so much clout chasing that I feel like people who truly people are and the identities of people and societies of people get lost and misconstrued because they don't want to present that because they want to do what's the most clout chasing thing. You know what I mean? Like you'll have people have like artists come out who make absolute garbage music and just want to fuck with them because they seen 30 other people fuck with them, so they want to be part of that group now. So I feel like in terms of music and as an artist, I feel like it stripped a lot of individuality away in terms of like the fan base and also as like in terms of musicians, because now you have something popping on social media. Now you're gonna have 20 people trying to do that exact same thing because they want the same amount of clout. Or you'll have someone drop a project and they will actually genuinely like it, and then they'll go out and they'll go on Instagram or go on X, and then they'll see everybody being like, "Man, this shit's trash." And then now they're commenting, "Man, this shit's trash," even though internally in their head and everything, they actually think that shit slaps. So I think in the sense of individuality, I think we lost a lot of that in terms of social media. But I think at the same time, in terms of like a creative and being an artist or being an entrepreneur, like I think it's such a beneficial because it and so quick in like that in my pocket, I can go reach people from Africa. Like it's never been a time where you can do that as an artist. But so there's its wins and its losses. Personally, I want to go back to like the times where like you're meeting people and that's how you're finding about new artists, you know what I mean? And it's like genuine, and it's like you got the CD and you sat down with the weekend and you got to listen, like for a
Yeah,
weekend
exactly.
got to listen to it and curate your own opinion, and you know what I mean? And then you get to school or you get to work on Monday, and then that's when you guys are kind of sharing your opinions back and forth. It's not like, you know what I mean? It's not instantly going on Instagram and seeing if your opinions were validated or not.
Yeah,
So,
no, that's facts. And like I could actually give like one story about this too, because like Snow Day who did like Wagwan, like Delilah and
mm,
all that too.
mm,
So way back then in like 2020, like I was like shooting like a lot of like interviews like back then, like like post like pandemic times,
mm.
like around like 2020, 2021, he reached out to me. Like he was actually a musician before he did the whole like TikTok stuff, and
Oh,
like
Snow
he
Day?
was yeah,
Mm,
Snow Day, and like he was like very like serious about it. Shot the interview with like one of his like guys and all that too. It's not there like anymore like on the platform. It was like
mm,
deleted just way before Wagwan Delilah like came out and all that too. But no, it was a great like story and all that too. But like what happened is that basically like a lot of people feel like they might not be like confident in like what they do with the music, so they have to go through like other routes to see what
mm,
works. The TikTok route worked because he was impersonating like the Toronto hoodman culture, all that sort of stuff too, and
mm,
kind of blew up. Did like parody songs and kind of like blew up and all that too. But yeah, when you see like a lot of artists like that really were like passionate at one point too, because he was actually doing like R&B, like a lot of like R&B music, like had like an R&B tape, and like he even had like one like big song that was like very viral like on YouTube, like it had like almost like a million views and all that too with this like
damn.
other like R&B artist, but
Mm,
and like he wasn't even like known around that time, and like in some situations like that, it's like most people aren't like confident in like whether it would like take it to like the next level and all that too, because they feel like if they're stuck in this like rut, and like if they're doing something that's making more than what they're doing like with the music and all that too, like they're gonna choose like what works
mm,
out for them, and like in some cases you have to make like sacrifices and all that too and all that. So yeah, I think like a lot of it has to do with like what you can like sacrifice to see what works too, because either you're gonna be an anomaly of what you see in the Toronto like music industry,
mm.
or you're just gonna be like left behind and all that.
Yeah, honestly, like I didn't know that like any about that like that you just said, but like, and this is like no disrespect. I don't know the man. I've never met him. Um, but like I just stay on your shit. Like if and that I feel like that's just going back to like I feel like that's what's the problem right now with social media in our city right now is like you'll have and on top of that story, I've seen that countless of times where someone was doing one thing that they were really passionate about and really liked, and then all of a sudden they're doing something completely different because it's getting them more attention, and it's like, bro, stop. Like, why are we chasing clout? Like, why are we chasing outside validation from other people? Like, just do what you think slaps and feel good about it and stand beside it and be proud. You know what I mean? Like, if R&B is your shit, then figure out how to make the best R&B you can make. You know what I mean? Like, I don't agree with that. Like, like it wasn't working for me, so I'm gonna go do this thing. Like, unless that's truly your calling, like, unless you sit down with yourself and you're like, you know what, I'm a comedian. That's what I want to be, or I'm a podcaster, or I'm not a podcaster and I'm actually a rapper. If you sit down and make that change, like more power to you. But if it's like, well, like making songs like Wagwan Delilah made me blow up, but I'm actually making songs like fucking Lauren Hill. it's like, are you really gonna sit there and make parody tracks when you actually love music? Like, that's what you're really gonna result to is like because you want people to fuck with you. Like, I'll drop everything I want to drop, and if no one fucks with me, no one fucks with me. I don't care. You know what I mean? Because it's like I wanted that, and I'm dropping songs that I want to listen to. So if you don't want to listen to it, that's great. Like I don't fucking care. You know what I mean? Like this music is, and the things that I'm saying, like that's me. That's what's coming from me, and I'm not gonna change myself because someone doesn't like it. You know what I mean? Like if someone's like, oh, I like told my mom you should do more R&B and stuff like that. It's like I'll do that when I get to it, when I feel like it, when I have a song that in requires me to sing again like that. That brings that out of me. I'm not gonna, you know what I mean? Like sit
Yeah,
here
no,
and
that's
do a whole bunch
facts.
of shit
Yeah.
because other people want me
Yeah.
to.
And like it takes time with like the process too, because like, like there's like people that have like made music for like a long time and they don't get that fame until like a certain point like in their lives too. Like
Mm,
I could even say for like a lot of artists like Danny Brown and like Shabuzi, friggin' Juicy J and like all these like other people too, like they have to hit like peak moments to
mm,
see where it goes. Like Juicy J, like he was like so big in like Free Six Mafia from the 90s to like the mid 2000s to like the late 2000s, and then he didn't get like his own peak on his own until like 2013, like when he
mm,
released like Stay Trippy and all that, and like it kind of like led on from there. Like Danny Brown, like he was releasing like a lot of like underground tapes from like the 2000s, and
mm,
then he didn't peak until like 2013 and all that too. Shabuzi, who started off as like a trap rapper, like 2017, 2018, 2019, didn't get that blow up until like this year with like a bar song and all that, and like it has to be that change like on where it like comes from and all that too, and like if it works, it works. Like that's why like even like artists are getting like the recognition and the respect now, like the Larry Junes, the Rock Marcianos,
mm.
the like Griseldas, and it just like kind of like leads on from there because there is like a niche of people that genuinely like love that sound and like they were trying to access it. It's just the means on like trying to create the most like content with the music and all that. So
Yeah, and just like all those people, like they're consistent with their sound. They're building their sound. You know what I mean? They're not trying to sound like someone else. They're not trying to enter someone's lane because that person is doing a show they want to do or something.
yeah,
Like I just think like do you and
exactly.
and
Yeah,
and drop what you want to drop and stop caring what everybody else
yeah,
thinks
that's
because
facts.
if you I promise you live your life thinking you're gonna if you go about art like that trying to be like what's gonna make the most people laugh or the most people like me or what's gonna make give me the most likes and whatever like you're never gonna be happy. You're always gonna be
Okay.
chasing something, you know what I
Yeah.
mean, where it's like you drop and you do the things you want to do. For example, like you're not going to have as a podcaster, you're not going to bring on a bunch of circus clowns to interview them because people might think it's funny. You know what I mean? You're bringing on people that you genuinely want to talk to and you're going to build a basis on that, on like what's going on in Toronto. And I feel like that's a big part that people are missing and other places like, and I'm not going to sit here and say ads in like, but other blogs in Toronto, like they're having that issue where it's like they're promoting and they're choosing to do things that will give them the most clout, or they're giving free promotion to things because they want everybody else to be like, look, I'm cool too. I'm hip. I'm with the people. Like, look, I'm also posting this. And then turning around and being like, oh, this actual genuine artist, this actual person who's putting in work, I'm gonna charge you like a rack to post you once. It's like, but you posted you know what I mean? Like raw 4 times for free. Like, what do you mean you're gonna charge me when I'm actually from the city and I'm actually putting on for the city? You know what I mean? So
Yeah, no, that's facts, man. And like I know, like I definitely like agree with that too. Like I know, like some blogs, like it can be like an issue at times too. Like it just like also like depends on the situation too. But I think yeah, like when we work together, like when we like grind, like either way too, like and when we connect, like it just like helps out like either way, like in that sense too. And like
of course,
and I want to like tap in like on like a couple like of these like questions like before we go and all that. But do you ever feel like there's a crap in the bucket mentality like in Toronto with blogs not supporting or answering DMs, engineers picking sides, and artists like telling other artists to not work with like other artists like due to tensions and all that?
of course. I use like it's it's really eye opening the more I'm entering in the game because excuse me, I came up and like sorry, I came up and you have Metro and Future and Migos, like they're all from Atlanta and they're putting on from each other. You know what I mean? Like back in like when Migos was super popping and Metro was just coming out and all of them, like I'm watching that being like, oh, if I find my Toronto people, that's what it's going to be like. And it was very eye opening to see that it's very much that's the thing that we're lacking, because it's like it very much is like there's healthy competition in the rap game, and I feel like within Toronto there's an unhealthy competition of like gatekeeping and making sure that this person doesn't get up because you don't like them, or you know what I mean, and trying to find, you know what I mean, like I there you go on blogs and there's rappers trying to find dirt on each other, and it's like if you just spend this time and that energy on trying to find a leak on your op, you know what I mean? And you actually take that time and energy and you sit down and create something with that person, or even on your own. I just feel like we have we put so much energy into separating ourselves and separating the culture when Toronto has a culture. We have such great potential in terms of what we can be of a mecca in like the music game, and we're missing out on so much of it because you have, you know what I mean? Like this person not rocking with this person, and thinking that it's like that's how things should be, and then you know what I mean? And then you go look in Cali and you have Bloods and Crips on stage together just this year. You know what I mean? And there's pictures of Bloods and Crips coming together and tying their bandanas together when there's times against like, against police corruption and stuff like that. You have moments where the city will come together and boast up each other. You know what I mean? Like, it's very, very seldom that you'll see like other places be like, oh, he's from X, Y, and Z, so we're not going to rock with him. It's like, no, you're from Chicago. I'm from Chicago. Let's both get this bread. You know what I mean? And let's spread it amongst each other. I, I, I definitely think there's like a crab in the bucket mentality here where it's like, we gatekeep and we miss out on I feel like a lot of it. You know what I mean? Because I feel like Toronto has a sound and has such potential to be one of the best rap cities in the, you know what I mean? You have The Weeknd and Drake. That's here. You know what I mean? And if Justin Bieber decides to drop tomorrow, that's going viral too. Like that's Canada. Canada has great potential in terms of like star power. We just need to capitalize on it
Yeah,
and
that's
stop looking
facts.
within
Yeah,
our pride and being like, I don't like you. And
yeah,
you know what I mean?
yeah. I
Like,
know what you mean, man. And like I know we gotta like speed through like on a couple of these, but
yeah, yeah.
for like a lot of people that wanna like tap in with your stuff and all that too, like name 3 songs like in your catalog that you would like to recommend for any person that hasn't heard about you before that would like to know more about you.
3 songs, all of them. No. Told My Mom, is definitely one of them. I think that's, um, the most I've taken on those songs. JoJo, the Bounce and Bash Bowls, 2.0, that one's a heater. I think JoJo just snaps on that one, he goes off on that one. Um, and Crash Out,
Okay.
definitely Crash Out, those are the 3. Yeah.
Okay, that's facts, man. And do you have any like any other plans for this year or like for the end of the year and like starting 2025? Like I know you have the album. I know that you have like some videos that might be like coming soon, but do you have anything else like coming in the works? And do you have any like closing remarks you like to say?
Um, I might have a surprise drop. I don't know. It's up in the air. Who knows? Maybe it'll come out, maybe it won't. But yeah, no, I'm just gearing towards this next year. It's the turn of a half decade, 2025, and this half close out of the decade. I'm ready, and I want to see who else is ready, and let's see what by the time we get to 2020 or 2030, I want like who's gonna be up there, who's gonna be popping, and I'm ready to take that. You know what I mean? Starting in these next few months and starting January, I'm coming for that top. You know what I mean? Like Toronto, like if Toronto doesn't have a king, then I'm gonna be that, and if it does, then I'm coming for that throne. So
Okay, that's facts, man. And Antonio, it was like dope having you on, man.
of course, man,
It
of
was a
course.
dope conversation. Like great to like know more about you with your starting music, with everything else too, with all the other stuff too. And like
Yeah,
we'll
thank you for having
definitely
me.
have you on back and all that too to speak more on like the new stuff, everything else too. And yeah, wishing nothing but the best.
Yeah, yeah. I know we had to speak to through some of the questions. Just having great conversation,
Yeah,
man.
I think you
Like
already explained like everything from like the other questions I've had, which kind of like explained like pretty much like everything else and all that too. And like
yeah.
we'll probably dive deep more like on a later time and all that too. Maybe next year, maybe the year after. Who knows? But
No, I'll definitely come back up here, and yeah, no, I appreciate you guys for giving me a platform and giving me giving me the ability to come here and talk and share it with you guys. You know, I don't. I'm a man of very few words, so I don't have a lot of interviews. I don't accept them a lot, so it was very nice to come out of here and just and talk and be able to do that. You know.
Yeah, no, that's facts, and we'll definitely like make more like in the way soon and all the note. But this is Josh, also known as Yashu. Another episode of TY Talks with one of the rising acts in the game, Antonio Delavada. You can get this on all platforms: Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Buzzsprout, much more. Definitely have a happy holidays and like Merry Christmas to anyone who celebrates like Christmas and all that too. Enjoy your turkey, enjoy your festive times and all that. Have
Yeah.
a lot of great Secret Santas, all that sort of stuff too, and this is gonna be a gift for everyone, for the year and all that. So it's Josh, also known as Yashu, with the Rising Act, Antonio Delavada signing off.
Yeah. In lieu of flowers, 2025.